Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins, and I'm here to share with you two stories, Rindercella and the Pee Little Thrigs. Hey, thanks for coming for story time. This is mostly for fun, but I'm a professional psychologist, and when I finish telling you the stories, I will also share with you some insights about how I use this professionally as a psychologist. First off, I'm going to sell you the story of Rindercella. Now this is a Terry fail. You're gonna have to kiss very carefully, cause I get my merds mixed up a little bit ever since the Dane Bramage happened. Once upon a while, in a corn country, lived a very beautiful girl. Her name was Rindercella. Now Rindercella lived with her sticked mepwether and her two sisty step-uglers. Rindercella was in charge of all the wordy dirk. She had to flop the moors, she had to wash the laundry, she had to whop the chud. She's a really good chud whopper. But while Rindercella was doing all this wordy dirk, her two sisty step-uglers sat around on their fig bannies cheating auklets and magging a readazine. Well, as it turned out, in that very same corn country lived a very pransome hince. Very pransome indeed. He was on the cover of QG. Well, this pransome hince decided he was going to hold a Bancy Fall. So he invited all the people from Riles and Mound to come to his Bancy Fall, especially the pitch reaple. He didn't even bother with the pooped steeple. Well, Rindercella's sticked mepwether and her two sisty step-uglers went out to buy some dancy fresses for the Bancy Fall. But poor Rindercella couldn't go. All she had to wear were some old ruddy dags. So she cat down and sried. Well, as she was kitting there, srying, foop! There was a flinding blash of light, and when the cloak smeared, there appeared before her Gary Mudfather, slazing like the bun and wearing a tink poo-poo. Well, Rindercella's Gary Mudfather touched Rindercella with his wagic mond, and foop! Suddenly she was wearing a very dancy fress, and there appeared before her a cage stoach and Hicks white sources to carry Rindercella to the Bancy Fall. But he said to her, "Now you must be home before midnight, or I will turn you into a tumpkin." Well, off Rindercella went to the Bancy Fall, and guess who were the first two people she ran into? Her two sisty step-uglers. But she had become such a bavishing Rudy that they didn't hardly even cinderize Recogniella. Well, eventually that pransome hince made his way on over, and he asked Rindercella, "May I dab this hands?" Well, she yed cess, and they danced all night till midnight, and they lell in fove. It was like they were shot by one of Pukid's arrows. Well, at the stirst stroke of midnight, Rindercella realized what time it was. And in a dad mash, she staced down the rares. And when she beached the rodham, she slopped her dripper. Well, that pransome hince found Rindercella's slash glipper, and he held it high above his head. And he said, "The furl whose gut this flipper sits shall be my lovely ride." And the very next day he searched all over that corn country for the beautiful burl who'd slopped her dripper. Well, when he came to Rindercella's house, he first tried that slash glipper on the foot of her sticked mepwether. It fidn't dit. So next he tried that slash glipper on the foot of her two sisty step-uglers. It fidn't dit. They couldn't even get their tig bow in. So next he tried that slash glipper on the foot of Rindercella, and it fid dit. And they were so excited they lell madly in fove, and they mock-garried, and they lived heavily ever afterwards. Now the story of this story is, if you ever want to go to a Bancy Fall and have a pransome hince lull deeply in fove with you, don't forget to slop your dripper. Are you having fun yet? Take a moment to subscribe while I gear up for round 2, okay? Now this next little story is called the Pee Little Thrigs. Once upon a while, an old Puther Mig lived with her Pee Little Thrigs, car out in the country, but she was too for to peed them. So when those Pee Little Thrigs weren't so little anymore, that Puther Mig sent them off into the wold curled to feek their sortunes. Well, that purse little fig was Larry Vasey. He wouldn't daunt to do any ward herk. So he hilt a bouse out of stry draw. Now the peccant little sig lurked a whittle bit harder, but she was somewhat tasy-loo, and so she hilt her bouse out of stittle bricks. I though what you're ninkin'. You thought that was the purd little thing, didn't you? But don't keep confused. Stittle bricks are actually bright quiddle. Not like mock rolled sasonry. There's a big difference between a hick stouse and a hick browse. Well, anyway, after these Poo Little Twigs had hilt their bouses, they sat around the dest of the ray playing giddy-o vames. Pilly little sigs. Well, what about that purd little thig? He was the wardest turker of the Pee Little Thrigs. He did all the wordy dirk. While they sat around on their fig bannies playing giddy-o vames, he commenced a whoppin' chud and brayin' licks. He hilt a bouse that could stith wan the longest strins, complete with a chine plier face and fimney. Now that's a pretty good ways dirk, especially for a piddle lig. Well, the nary vexed day, a wig-wad bulf, last by the pane where the Pee Little Thrigs lived, and he saw the hoss strauss. He could pell the smig inside, and he pot the thig would make a lice nunch for a wig-wad bulf. So he docked on the nor and said, piddle lig, dopen your oar and kept me lum in. But that piddle lig could see the wig-wad bulf's pig baw through the heekle, and bansered ack, that'll be a pard hass for me. I won't catch you lum in. Not by the chair of my hinny hen. So that wig-wad bulf teared his beath and said, then I'll puff and I'll huff and I'll hoe your blouse down. And then he did. He puffed and he huffed and he hoo the blouse down. And then he tried to twallow that pursed little fig, but the piddle-ig escaped by the chair of his hinny hen and ran away to hide with the peccant little sig. Well, that wig-wad bulf continued down the cane until he came to the heckant souse. The one made of stittle bricks. He haw the souse. He could pell the smigs inside, and his wouth began to modder as he thought about what a dine finner those Poo Little Twigs would make. So he docked on the nor and he said, piddle ligs, dopen your oar and kept me lum in. But those Poo Little Twigs could see the wig-wad bulf's nointy pose through the heekle, and bansered ack, lot on your knife, we won't catch you lum in. Not by the chairs of our hinny hens. So that wig-wad bulf teared his beath and he said, then I'll puff and I'll huff and I'll hoe your blouse down. Then he did. He puffed and he huffed and he hoo the blouse down. But that wig-wad bulf was grow seedy that he cried to catch both little bigs at once. And it wouldn't dirk. He bossed loath of them. His jig boss damped clown on buthing nut air. And those Poo Little Twigs fampered away as scrast as their fiddle-eat would carry them, and ran away to hide with the purd little thig. That wig-wad bulf chased those Poo Little Twigs lown the dane, and he keerly not them. There were several mere nisses. But they got into the hick browse and damned the slower in front of the wig-wad bulf. Then these Pee Little Thrigs were faux frightened. They knew that wig-wad bulf was pungry for higs. They knew he could probably thrill the smee of them inside. And that wig-wad bulf's south began to malivate as he thought about how dancy his finner had become now with Pee Little Thrigs. So he docked on the nor and he said, piddle ligs, dopen your oar and kept me lum in. But those Pee Little Thrigs could see the wig-wad bulf's mugly ug through the heekle. They knew it was him. And bansered ack, what do you wink we thar, pooped little stigs? We won't catch you lum in, not by the chairs of our hinny hens. So that wig-wad bulf teared his beath and said, then I'll puff and I'll huff and I'll hoe your blouse down. And then he puffed and he huffed and he huffed and he puffed and he moo with all his blight. But as he tried, he could not hoe the blouse down. Finally, he was so wired and tended that he couldn't cuff and he couldn't wuff anymore. So he cat down and sighed. It was too much for the wigwag wolf. He had never been defeated by Pee Little Thrigs. So he teared his beath, and he fomped his steet, and he moored with all his right, and he pulled the tigs. Then I will chide down your slimney and eat dew for my yinner. Then he started to rhyme up to the kloof. Well, that purred little thig, he was a fart smeller, and he came up with a clan. He quickly built a flazing byre, and he put on a pig bot of botter to oil. Then, just as that wigwag wolf was chiding down the slimney, he lulled off the pid, and slashp, in fell the wigwag wolf, right into the walding scotter. Then those Pee Little Thrigs clapped on the suver, oiled the wolf up, and then Pee Little Thrigs ate the wigwag wolf for their own thinner. Now, the story of this Maury is, if you ever want to sit around with your slazy libbling playing Gideon vames, never let a wigwag wolf hoe your blouse down. Now, what is a professional psychologist doing telling stories like this? This is called Spoonerisms, and it's just a technique where you probably picked up on it. You switch the sounds from one word with the sounds from another word, and you mix them all up, and it's kind of fun. And that's one reason to do it. But I've also refined this in a way that I can use it when I'm doing keynotes or trainings or presentations. A lot of people ask me, how long did it take you to learn those? I promise, it took a while. And that leads me to one of the things that I wanted to share with you. It's important in whatever we do to hone and refine our craft. I am a professional speaker, and what that means is that I get to practice. The things that I share when I'm giving a keynote or a training or a presentation need to come off like it's easy or natural for me. That doesn't mean that it is easy or natural. It takes a lot of work and refining and practicing to do something like what I just shared with you. So there's two take-homes that I would encourage you to consider. Whatever it is that you're doing, practice. Hone and refine your craft for the way that you create value for others, and then have fun. Have some fun. If we're not having fun, we're doing it wrong. I hope you had fun with this today. As a parting gift, I would love to give you a copy of my book, Pathological Positivity. It has nothing to do with the Tory stelling that I just did. This is my journey and the principles that I have learned as a professional psychologist that I would love to share with you. Go to drpauljenkins.com/free book and I will give this to you for free. You just pay for the shipping. I'll send the book right to you. Thank you for listening today. I hope you had fun.